I'm literally doing this just for the thumbnail. Like, oh no, I fell and my passport and plane tickets fell down and my luggage is right there. Someone help me. Another day, another euro? Doesn't matter, I don't make money from these videos anyway. If you're new here, my name's Tommy, and I'm an American living in Dusseldorf, Germany. That's not the only thing about me, but I mean for this video, that's probably the context you need. My wife and I moved abroad over a year ago now, and while that definitely doesn't make me an expert, I think it at least puts me in a position to give some advice on the matter. My thought process in making this video is that I want to give out the insight that I kind of wish that I would have gotten before I moved abroad. Because when we were getting ready to move abroad, I watched, by a conservative estimate, every single video on YouTube about moving to Germany. Maybe this is like a weird way of me reaching through time to past Tommy, to tell him the things that I wish I would have seen in a video at that time, because God knows I was watching them. And that actually brings me to the first thing I want to tell myself, which is that you'll never be fully prepared for this. Now, I understand the desire to try to look into everything and try to be as prepared as possible. But the reality is, you will never be able to cover all the knowledge that you'll need to make this seamless transition where you just step from one life into the next and everything is Gucci. That's just not how the world works. Even if you're going from like America to the UK and you think, oh, the language is the same and this, that, you're still gonna be shocked culturally and physically. So instead of like trying to prepare for every little thing you think you might encounter when you move abroad, like, oh, I'm gonna watch this and that culture shock video, so when it happens, I'm gonna be unfazed, because you're not gonna be unfazed. What you should do is prepare in here to be able to handle things when you don't expect them to arise. For me personally, that really meant not getting worked up when things go wrong, because they are gonna go wrong. And you just have to be ready to roll with it. Just embrace those challenges as they come in here. A great example of this is actually what kind of inspired me to make this video, which was my experience at the German DMV just a few weeks ago. We looked up everything. We thought we had all the documents covered. We had everything we needed to go in and have a really smooth transition of getting our American license switched over to a European license. There was no way we would have known that the way they take photos at the DMV is with a photo booth that you can only pay cash for. We wouldn't have been able to know that all the cash machines at the DMV were going to be out of service that day, and we would never be able to predict that the photo booth only takes exact change, and it only takes €5 notes and coins, so we were gonna overpay for our photos no matter what. And that altogether, this process that should have been rather turnkey was going to cost us like 16 hours of our life. And speaking of things going wrong, the second thing I want to say is that challenges feel bigger when you're a fish out of water. I'd love to be able to just like look at every challenge that I face here and be like, ah, Germany, what are you gonna do? So German that this happened to me. But the truth is that like half the things that happen could also happen anywhere else in the world. But in the moment, it doesn't feel like it. It always feels like because you're in a different country, because this is a new place with new rules and new ways of doing things, that's why things go wrong or why bad things might happen to you. An example of this from future Tommy to past Tommy. We moved into an old building that was newly renovated. But what they don't renovate are the pipes. Within a month of moving into our apartment, we got a leak in our floorboards. It's not a small problem to fix, but it's certainly not something you think is going to take 6 months from the time they discover the leak to the time that they finally scrape away all the mold from your walls, refinish them, and take out all the industrial dehumidifiers. And I gotta tell you, during this time I was like, Germany! But it wasn't Germany's fault, it was the fault of an old building, I guess. Actually, maybe that is Germany's fault. I take back what I said. But the fact is, this could have happened anywhere. But because I had to keep calling my landlord and using German vocabulary that I hadn't learned yet and talking to all these people about a subject that I'm not well versed in a language that I'm not native level in, it certainly felt like a Germany-specific problem at the time. And again, the only way to effectively deal with this is to prepare for it here. Because you can't know what's gonna happen. If I knew what was gonna happen, I would have taken, a whole course about how to talk about plumbing in German. If they offer that. Do they offer that? Third point on my agenda is that everyday life is still everyday life. It is very easy when you first move somewhere to feel like you're in a weird vacation or like a parallel universe or something. It doesn't really feel real at first. But eventually you have to adjust to the fact that like, you live here, you work here, you wake up and do your morning routine here. You still have to drag yourself to the gym when you don't want to go. You still have to do all your dishes. And for good measure, the people that you encounter as you're walking around in everyday life are not like characters in your video game where you're off somewhere new exploring. It's a place full of people who have been here for thousands of years. Thousands, right? It's been thousands. And they've been carrying on with everyday life way before you got here and will be way after you leave. Listen, I totally think you should embrace that feeling at the beginning of every day being an adventure. Hell, if you can embrace it for as long as possible, keep doing that. My point is that when you start to realize that this is your life now, embrace that. This is your life now. And because I don't want this to seem like it's all in some sort of negative spirit, the fourth thing I want to say is about just that. Embrace the here and now. Something that like really stuck with me that my wife recently said to me was that this past year is the most me she thinks she's ever seen me be. And what she meant by that was that I stopped being so consumed with things that weren't right in front of me. And that's one of the best things about moving abroad, is it shifts your perception to the present moment because things are new and you're excited for them. And you really should try to embrace that and hold on to it and find those things for as long as you can. To this day, I still stop by the window of the bakery down the street to watch them roll out the bread because it just feels foreign and exciting and it makes me smile and it's adorable. So while at a certain point I've still had to adjust to the fact that my everyday life is still waking up and trying to go work out and going to work and trying to do a good job and paying bills, it's so much better when I just embrace my fascination with being somewhere else. And in a weird way, kind of embrace my naivete. And the last thing I'll say, which one are we on? Whatever, it doesn't matter. The last thing is that if you're doing it right, if there is a right way to do it, you're going to learn what's really important to you. Whether it's learning how important family is to you and making you want to move back home, or maybe you'll learn to appreciate things in your country that you didn't even realize you were taking for granted. Or you might realize that the life that you really want for yourself might be more achievable in this new place. Whatever it is, the contrast between one life and another will whittle themselves down into what you really want out of your one singular life. And getting to that point might take a few hurdles, like a 6-month-long leak repair in your apartment or a long and annoying bureaucratic day at the German DMV. I think that's a small price to pay for finding out what you really, really want in life. And that's the show. I noticed I did not take a single sip of coffee while we were doing this. I was just rambling. If you like this video, please check out some of my other stuff. I'm going to put 2 videos on screen that I think sum up the type of content I like making and want to continue making. So check both of those out, get an idea of what I'm all about, and then I'll see you back here next week. Hopefully. It's done. Cheers.